num1 is equal operators. So okay, in dot next int, tried it out and let's see how we're going to do. to do this. So basically the idea is same. The same while loop is, okay, I'm going to be 7. Then I'll take the remainder again. It will now be 9. Before adding this is the same thing we were doing previously. Only one extra step is needed. When you are adding this number in your answer, make sure you have to basically add the number in your answer so that it should be like 79 over here, right? So basically you need to shift this 7 towards the right, so towards the left. So what you need to do is, you have, let's say, 7 over here now. If I do something which is 795, make sense? Then 3. So 795 into 10 plus 3, which is 7953. Then again, again last remainder 2. 795 last thing, answer try to revert equal to int answer is equal to initially 0. In the end I'm just going to print the answer, and same thing that we did previously, while n is equal to, so simple, 612. Okay, system dot in, if you I'm just going to say char ch is equal to multiplied, okay, these 5 input, print say is equal to 0, and in the end I can just say print answer, condition to break, and it will keep on running infinitely, hence we need to put a condition. That is it. Then I can say, just copy paste this, if operator is equal to minus, answer is equal to num1 minus num2. If operator is equal to multiplied, I can say answer is equal to num1 into num2. If operator is equal to divide, I need to basically here make a check. Okay, I need to make a check that if number 2 is not equal to 0, because you cannot divide by 0, then I can say something like answer is equal to num1 divided by num2. Okay, and the only thing remaining now is something like modulo. So here I can just add answer is equal to num1 modulo num2. Then it's going to check. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are going to look at switch statements. So basically we'll be looking at what are switch statements, what is like the break condition, and like nested switch cases and all these other things. So let me just create a new project over here. I'm going to say next, create project from template. I'm going to add it over here like and switch statements. Well, before we jump into switch statements, let's look at a question. Okay, so let's say the question states something like you take a word input which will be a fruit. So for example, like the entire DSA complete playlist, you can find it in the description below, like the initial lectures we were learning about method. So it's using the dot equals method, because the dot equals methods, the question is how do you know that this, quickly showcase over Kunal. So you can print king of fruit. You can say if fruit dot equals apple, you can say print a sweet red fruit in the string. Okay, don't worry, we'll do strings in detail. We'll learn about the mutability and everything of strings. Don't worry about it. Just for now, just compare it with equals. Why we are doing it in more depth, we will look into the string module. But here you can see I did not add else over here. You can add else if you want, but else is not required, because if the fruit string is equal to mango, definitely it will not be equal to anything else. Okay, so hence any one of these conditions will only be true. Okay, that's why else is not required. Obviously you can put it or you can ignore it, it does not matter. You can see this is looking a little bit repetitive. It's not looking very nice. It's not a nice syntax. We can use switch cases for this. So this is the syntax for switch expressions. So you add an expression over here. In this case, the expression will be like our fruit. Okay, and whatever the answer of that, like the possible choices of that expression, will go into each and every individual cases. That is the use of the case over here. And for every case, we will be doing something. Okay, so I think switch is explained, expression is explained, cases are explained, doing something is explained. Here we can just print out case mango, print king of fruits, case apple, print a sweet red fruit. Okay, what is this break condition? Break is basically used to terminate the sequence. Okay, whenever you have found like the particular answer, and when you display it or do whatever you want to do, if you don't print break, if you don't do the break part, it will keep on checking all the others as well. I'll just show you right now. It's optional, but just make sure that it will, if you don't put break, it will keep on showing it again and again and again. In the newer syntax of switch cases, this is a bit old. We will also look into the newer syntax that's much more nice and much more clean. That's like way better than this one in Java. Okay, one more thing you have to notice is that the cases should have the same type as the expressions and must be like either constant or a literal. So they cannot be like your variables or whatever. So for example, the expression that we put over here is fruit. Fruit is type variables or whatever. So for example, the expression that we put over here is fruit. Fruit is type string. So cases should also be of type string. Okay, duplicate cases are not allowed. It's not like this will be mango, this will be mango as well. Not allowed. Break is used to terminate. If break is not used, it will continue till the next cases. That is also fine. We will look into example of that as well. Default is basically if none of these execute, the default will execute. Okay, if none of the above like are true basically. And if default is not the end, then basically, if you put default somewhere over here in the middle and you don't want the ones after the default executing, then you can just put a break after it. We'll see the example of this as well. Okay, but first let's look into like the basic example of this. So like switch, my expression will be fruit, my case 1 will be mango. I'm just going to say print king of fruits, break condition. Second will be apple. I can say sweet red fruit, and I'm just going to say break. Third case will be orange. I'll say something like round fruit, and then I'll have case I can add a break over here. Okay, then I have a case of grapes. Then I can just print something like small fruit. And otherwise, case for your default cases, basically you can just add like the default value over here. You don't have to put a case, you can just say default value. It's going to be something like this is the last one and no more statement is after this. Say this finds like not provided, then let's say it will break. Is it cases are not allowed directly. It just happening in the it is test with and prints like attempts at I do not type anything that is related to mango, apple, orange or grapes. So now it's running the default statement. Like if any one of these is not true, run the default statement, which is print please enter a valid fruit. You can do many other things with it. You can say something like, if I comment this out, you can say something like int day is equal to int, then I can say day, basically saying basically this thing is being replaced with a switch case. Okay, look here is print weekend or this with the end. See, just in a scanner. So I'll create a new file that is like nested if. Sorry, nested switch. Also want to print which department here. Department. Okay, and then I can say break. Otherwise I can say case management. You can say management. Going to is break over. It's giving me suggestions. One way this will look. It's very big. Much more cleaner way. Every case already has a break condition associated with it. In each if condition you can add another switch case over here. Okay, so you can add multiple switch cases. And I believe that was it about this video. Make sure you like, share and subscribe, and all the previous videos are available in the playlist below. Assignments, quizzes and everything I uploaded daily. Check out the Discord where people are resolving doubts, learning together and solving assignments and everything. And make sure you check out the GitHub repository, and that syllabus is listed over here. We will cover this course in 2 months. Do not worry, I'll go through everything in detail. It's going to be one of the best courses on data structures, algorithms and problem solving, and I can definitely say this, and it's not my words. Many people are like really appreciating. Check out the comments, and if you really like this course, if you want to support the good work that I'm doing, and free for all, I'm putting in so many hours, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment and like. That is it. Don't need anything else, just share. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and this video will look into functions in Java. And before we get started, I wanna answer a few questions that people are asking. Some people say, hey, can you share the notes? Some people say, hey, can you share the assignments? And can you share? Enter number 1. Okay, enter the first number, then the person will input the first number. Then I can say enter second number, enter number 2, and int number 2 is going to be equal to int dot next int. Then I can say int sum is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Okay, and then I can say print sum. I can say something like the sum is equal to sum. Alright, very simple stuff. Let's run this. Number 1 is 10, number 2 is, let's say, 20, sum is 30. Okay, let me remove a new line from here. Okay, now that is very simple. Everyone knows how we do this. The next question is something like this. The next question is, or if I just define it somewhere else, I can say, I can define it separately as well. num1, comma num2, comma sum. So now the values are defined, and I can just remove the definition from here. Okay, so I just defined the value above, and here I'm just updating it. So now the next question is 10, 4 times, 5 times, 6. Actually, the person asked you to do this 100 times. Would you copy paste it 100 times? That would be very inefficient. Another problem you may face over here is, let's say the person asks you to change the wordings of this. Then you would have to change the wording of this format. Try me to take method. So basically, if we can put this entire thing in a method, we can use that method again and again. Let's try to do this. Sum. I'll call it a sum. I can say public static void main. I'm going to create a method over here. Okay, I'm going to say method has this definition. Okay, access modifier. This is something we'll look in object-oriented programming. Okay, return type, and here over here we have the body of the function. I'm just going to make a simple function that will be like this particular thing. Yeah, I'm just write this thing, copy this thing, write this thing over here. Have to initialize it. I think I put it over here. Now I can call this sum function. I can call it like this. Okay, this is showing me an error because of it not being static. So here I'm just going to write static over here, and the reason for this I'll explain in object-oriented programming. Okay, if you want to see the error message that you're getting, it's saying non-static method sum cannot be referenced from a static context. To use in static, that also has to be static, is basically what it's saying. Okay, so here I'm going to add static over here. Why these things are happening, what is static internally and everything, how enter number 1, and then it's going to start, hey, run the sum method. The sum method is over here. You're just going to run it line by line. You can call it many times you want. You don't have to copy the entire code base. That will like hello world. Okay, what is return this particular function call going to be? When the function finishes execution, so you call into, the value is actually going to be whatever you return in this function. Here, greeting. Here you can do something like this. return now I can say copy this entire thing. I hope that makes sense. So basically I am returning sum if hence I can sum 2 will be 20. I am putting a return value over here. It means function over. You know that Rahul Gandhi meme. Khatam. You know, tata, bye bye. So that is what's happening over here. In any function or method, whenever the return statement is hit and call is over, anything will state function value take out. Let's a function, not passing anything over here. This is the syntax. I think by now you might be aware of the syntax, and it's also giving me an error over here. It's saying return it. You are asking as a return type of a string, but you are returning an integer. Required type of string, and you are returning in the string greeting is equal to something like how are you. Okay, and I'm just returning that greeting. When I run greet over here, this will actually have a value of string type when I run this function. This function, so I can store it in a string type. Message is going to be what? Again, I know I told you previously as well. Main is the first value. It out it to be say argue and just say something. Now when I call sum3, I can say int answer is equal to sum3. I'm calling it. You are not. So if you A will be replaced, B will be, and it automatically created. Great. Value hello Kunal Kushwaha, like this. In functions, pause this video, think about it, and now let's look at the answer. It did not swap it. It did not swap it. How is it happening? What is happening? How is it working? Let's see. Okay, let me try one more thing. Let me show you some other thing. So let's say I create another file. Let's say something like string name is equal to Kunal Kushwaha. Okay, let's try something else. Then I'm going to say change name. I'm going to pass name over here. Okay, then I'm going to print name, and change name basically just changes the name. So basically static void change name string name. I'm going to say name is equal to now Rahul Rana. So is it going to change this name to Rahul Rana? It says string name is equal to Kunal, change name, this name will be passed over here, and here I'm saying in the function, okay, then the function will run. Kunal Kushwaha is passed, is saying now name is equal to Rahul Rana. Now print it out. Is it going to change the name value to Rahul Rana? It won't. For this, we have to understand how these values are actually being passed. That is an important concept. Let's look into that. Now, before we move on to explaining how this thing is working, there's one thing I want to share with you. So in the string example over here, let's say I create another new example. Let's say some passing example. Okay. Alright. So I can say string name is equal to something. Kunal Kushwaha, and void read name and what, and like naam was name only. Let's run this. Kunal Kushwaha. So this values particular, like the value name is working internal in the main, pass name over here, and that's it. Now in the greet method, it is taking a name and it is printing that name. Obviously, sorry, it's not taking name. Then the value I took over here, the format I used over here was naam. Okay, actually the value of the reference variable is passed. In Java, there is no particular thing known as pass by reference. Okay, in Java there is only pass by value. So here, actually what is happening is that this is a reference variable. A copy of the value of this reference variable, copy of a value of this reference variable is passed over here. So this is a copy, naam. So naam is basically going to have another reference variable which is a copy of this, and since this is a copy of this, it's going to point towards the same object. What is happening is that this is a reference variable. A copy of the value of this reference variable, copy of a value of this reference variable is passed over here. So this is a copy, naam. So naam is basically going to have another reference variable which is a copy of this, and since this is a copy of this, it's going to point towards the same object. Okay, so that is how it's working internally. When we pass something in the function, in Java there is no pass by reference, it's only pass by value, and in this case it's only passing the value of that reference, a copy of that reference. Okay, so here in the main we were accessing this object by name, here we are accessing this object by another variable named naam. Both of these reference variables are pointing towards the same object. Now the previous example, example that we took that had something like this. This example that was here, swap one. So here you were like change name. So like name passed over here. If I put naam over here, does not really matter. You can put naam over here. So here what is happening? Why did this not get changed? So we have something like name is equal to Kunal Kushwaha. Method name is going to change, but for now I believe you are able to 20 value is passed. Okay, here the value is object and how it will result in the original change, but for now I believe you are able to understand this particular use it outside. I can't do something like this, print naam, giving me error. It's saying naam is not defined because naam is only available in this function, which is the scope of that function. Okay, so this is known as scoping. We'll go more in detail in scoping, but this is very simple stuff that if you want to access any variables or anything that are available. Okay, we'll look more equal to 10 b functions scope. I'm just going to remove this thing. So in this functions scope, what is happening is temp is now num2. So is active now is that of objects and reference for all something like I say nums. Okay, passing an array over here. I'm saying the 0th value of nums should be 99, and here I'm going to call this function change arr. Then I'm going to say print arrays.toString arr. Basically toString is just printing this. Don't worry, this will we will go in detail of this. Okay, toString is another method. You can see public static string toString. It just takes an integer array and returns the string value of it. So now you might be able to understand the string build and array. And everything we'll look into it later on. It's nothing much, but I believe you know that much Java now that you are able to understand this code. Just simple for loop and stuff only. Okay, the question to you all is this going to change the original array or not? Let's see. Let me get my iPad here. Let me show you how this is working internally, then we'll run it. So basically original array is pointing to something happening like this. So original array arr has an object pointing to 1, 3, 2, 45 and 6. When I pass this in a function, I know this is in a reference and object, so reference copy will be passed. Another reference will contain the same object. So in this case nums pointing to the same object. This is not passed by reference, it's passed by the copy of the value of the reference. Okay, big difference. Just making a copy of this. So here it's saying in the function, it says nums of 0 is equal to 99. By the way, arrays are displayed by indices: 0th index, 1st index, 2nd index, 3rd, pointing towards the same object. Some objects was modified by nums, original object is also modified. If Kunal is spending money, baby index, 1st index, reference and object, so reference copy will be passed. Another reference will contain the same object. So in this case nums pointing to the same object. This is not passed by reference, it's passed by the copy of the value of the reference. Okay, big difference. Just making a copy of this. So here it's saying in the function, it says nums of 0 is equal to 99. By the way, arrays are displayed by indices: 0th index, 1st index, 2nd index, 3rd index, 4th index. So it's saying the 0th index should be changed to 99. Okay, via nums. Is it going to be changed for array as well? Yes, pointing towards the same object. Some objects was modified by nums, original object is also modified. If Kunal is spending money, baby is spending money, son or brother is spending money, or original object is spending money. First lecture we did this, memory management. Okay, first or second lecture, I don't remember. Check out the links in the description of the playlist. Let's try to run this. Will the original ARR be changed? Yes, changed. Don't have this doubt that, hey Kunal, why is changed? Don't have this doubt that, hey Kunal, why is string not being changed over here? Because we are not modifying the string. Here we are modifying the array. Here we are not modifying the string. We are creating a new object. Also, you cannot modify strings. Strings are like final classes, so it's like final. You cannot modify it because for security reasons they are immutable. We'll talk more about this later on. So here you can see, basically, in short, if you make a change to the object via this reference variable, same object will be changed. I hope that makes things clear. Now let's look into the next thing, which is known as scoping. Okay, so in short, when an object's reference, when the object's reference, when this reference is passed to this parameter, actually the reference itself is passed by call by value, because the value that is being nums will be another value of this reference variable pointing to the object. Okay, so it's actually call by value. It's not call by reference. In Java, we do not have pointers. We do not get the address or anything in Java. Okay, cool. Let's look into scoping now. So now we are starting with another important concept. It means where we can access our variables. Okay, so for example, if I have something like int a is equal to 10, int b is equal to 20, and here I create another function like static void random function or whatever. Here if I try to print a, it will not allow me. It's saying, hey, you cannot, this function does not know that a exists in some other function. Only you can access a in this function only, the main function only. Okay, similarly if I create num equal to 67, okay, you can access num over here. You can say print num or whatever. You can't access num over here. Okay, this is the first scope known as the function scope. So if you define any variables or anything in a function, you can only access those inside the function. This also holds true for all the arguments in marks or something. If you try to print marks over here, you will not be able to. You can print it over here. You can do anything you want in this function with marks, because marks has a scope in this, but scope basically means you can only access these variables inside this function. Very simple language. Okay, you cannot access it outside. So in the previous example, in the swap example, here you can see that the reference of a swap can say look at some page error. You can change the value the same. So here it's saying that a is initialized in its block, and this block is actually inside this function. So this is the reason it's saying that it's giving you an error. Something like inside the block, but specifically for this block, it is only going to be used in this block. With sized here, outside over here. If I put 100 u and here in the block, did I say string name is equal to Kunal again or Rahul again? No. This I is only defined in the for loop. All the other numbers, int num is equal to 90, int a is equal to 10. Okay, here it's saying that a is already defined in the scope. Anything initialized outside. Initialize means defining the new values. Int a, int basically this adding this data type means initializing. Okay, creating a new thing right inside the block. Again, thing that is outside the original one is outside. Outside the function, but to everything inside this scope. See, very simple. If you initial block going to be available x. Okay, and since I mentioned it previously, in order to use anything you have to have it, in order to use anything in static you have to have it static. So hence why I'm putting static over here. Why we are doing this and everything we'll learn in object-oriented programming. Basically the idea is that you don't want static. Static is basically object independent. So you cannot adding static over. We'll actually making entire classes to explain what static is. For now, just imagine you have to put anything that you're using inside the main function, you have to make it as static. Just understand this right now. Why we are doing it? We'll do it in object-oriented programming. Okay. So similarly, A was available everything inside the block of A. X will be available everything inside the block of X. I can do print X over here. Okay. Here if I create, this is going to print 9. Doing it. Okay, int X is equal to 90. So shadowing in Java is basically a practice of using two variables with the same name within the scope that overlaps. So this X variable has a scope of this entire block. Everywhere over here you can use X. What if I create another X over here and I give this X a value of, let's say, X is equal to, int X is equal to, let's say, 40, and here I print X again. So this is going to basically print 90. This is now going to print 40. Someone just made a PR. Nice. Okay, this is going to print 90. This is going to print 40. So basically when you add another variable in the scope that overlaps, because this is going to have a scope of this, this is going to have a scope of this, so this scope is overlapping for this and this. The higher level scope, the variable with the higher level scope is hidden. So when you access X again, it is actually going to print this X and not this X. This will be shadowed at line 8. This is known as shadowing, because the lower level is overriding the upper level. So higher level is shadowed. Let's print this. It should print 90, 40, 90. And I introduce the local scope, then it's printing the local scope, then it's calling fun. Since this only is available in this block, this X is going to be available for this X. This X is basically this X. Obviously we know it by now. This is going to be in this scope only. Okay, so this is known as shadowing. Cool. So basically this is printing the value of the class variable X, which is this one, and this is basically class variable. When the actually that was it, I believe, about that. So if you like this, you can do something like if I try to print this, I can say print char. It will take a array of char. So basically, let's say few integers over here. So if you want to pass some integers, you do not know how many integers you are passing, you just do dot 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 v or whatever name you want to give. I am giving v. This internally it's taking it as an array of integers. Array is just a collection of integers. If you do it like string, it will take an array of string. If you do it like char, it will take a array of char. So basically what I'm trying to do over here is that you can do it something like this. You can do something like if I try to print this, I can say print arrays.toString. We did it previously. I'll explain more about it when we do arrays. V. Let's try to run this function. I can say function is taking variable length argument, so I can pass any number of arguments I want. That is the beauty of variable length arguments. In the sum example and whatever, we were taking 2 arguments. Here it's saying you can take any number of arguments. Run this, it will print all of these and it will internally store it in an array. Okay, these are known as variable length arguments. Length is not constant, it varies towards the variable of input that you will be providing. If I write string over here, it will give like error, like hey, it is asking for strings, you are giving numbers. That's why giving an error. Okay, Cool. So basically this syntax is telling the compiler that this can be called, this function fun can be called via more than 0 arguments, 0 or more than 0 arguments. This will also work. This will be an empty list, empty array. Okay, so as a result, v is like, it's implicitly declared as an array of type int. If I write string over here, it will be declared as an array of type string. So we'll look more into array. Array is just like collection of characters and stuff. We'll look more into it later on when we do it. But currently that is pretty much about it. Cool. Alrighty. Another thing that I want to share over here is that what if you want to have a mix of arguments? So basically you want to basic variable number of arguments. Going to do something like this, string. After that it's going to take strings. So always note this order. If I'm saying a first, a should come first. Here in this case I can add anything I like. Random. If I remove this, it will give error. It's saying a should be integer, a is integer, b should be integer. It's taking this as a b argument. So you cannot skip anything like this. Okay, this is very important, the ordering. You cannot skip stuff like this. Alright, you cannot also do something. Let's try something like this. Let's say in between I insert variable length argument. That is also not allowed. Error is giving us the variable argument parameter must be the last in this list. Why? Because how would I know if this was integer? Okay, how would I know that when is b coming in? Because this can contain any number of arguments. How would I know when I should start for b? How would I know that? Hence, this is another rule. This should always come at the end. Variable length arguments always at the end. About a function you have of the same name. This I'm saying which stuff, but the bracket. Let's look at compared time. Adding the integer. Much more things with it. You can say like I can say some errors. Run it again. This is now integer is equal to, we have already done third. N is less than equal to 1. I can return false. Oops, it's actually n. And otherwise I'm gonna just come over. So whenever this condition is hit, while loop will not execute after that. We'll simplify it basically. So basically saying and add this. What is this going to be? 1 plus function. So instead of writing the code is equal to, I'm going to create a print my number. number n. So here I'm just going to print out the initial videos, the flowchart one, and the and the pseudocode and flowchart, like introduction to conditionals and stuff. Over there we discussed it. Okay, I would have done something like this as well. Store this in another answer. Boolean answer is equal to this, and 3 is prime, cube of 5, which is equal to long numbers. To make things simpler, So basically, if I'm talking about 3-digit Armstrong numbers, then if I'm saying, let's say a number A is equal to into 5 into 3, 50, right? Okay, is giving the same was the previous video. Link is in the description. Sum is equal to now 3 cube from previous and now 5 cube as well. That will be 1. Example, original the cube in the value sum is equal to, say, return and traversing and linked list. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we are starting with arrays. So we'll start by what is array, what are arrays, and we'll look into array list, we'll do some questions, we'll do some really nice things today. So let me just create a new structure, basically a new folder, any going to create a new project, and next in community classroom syntax. So basically